Hello and welcome to Artisan Realty, a quick little lesson about understanding radon. Radon is something that real estate agents run into in our normal course of business in our area in Pennsylvania. Let's take a quick look at the map of the United States. You can take a look at the red areas where generally where artisan real estate agents are. You'll see that radon is very high. That's the red area right here. A very high potential of getting radon in a property in this area. This map basically represents underground rocks and stones and radioactive activity going on in the United States. So it's definitely something that anyone buying in this region, pretty much out into Pittsburgh, up into New York, down into Delaware, just not really too much in New Jersey, just parts of New Jersey near the Delaware River, should have a serious concern about. So radon is a Class A human carcinogen recognized as a leading cause of lung cancer in the United States among non-smokers. The National Academy of Sciences and the Surgeon General estimate that as many as 21,000 lung cancer deaths occur in the United States annually, maybe as a result of radon exposure. And if you think about that 21,000, then limit that to the red area of the United States, you can start thinking it's actually a little bit more concentrating than that lets on. It's therefore essential as part of this mission to promote lung health. The American Lung Association of the Upper Midwest disseminates information about radon risks. So that's a very serious issue for someone buying a property. How was radon detected? So as part of a home inspection, part of a contingency in our standard agreement of sale, the buyers are given the option of having a radon test. If they opt for a radon test, the cost is about $125. Usually lasts about 3 days if they use the right newer mechanism. And this is a kind of one of the many machines that will actually test the air for radon. Has some vibration controls. This particular machine knows if someone took the machine and locked it in a closet and didn't have access to the rest of the air, the normal air pressure. It measures the humidity during the radon test and basically calibrates everything to let a buyer know the true condition of the property in regards to radon. What they're looking for is a reading that's under the number 4, technically 3.8, rounded out to number 4. So if you get a radon level under 4 in the first floor living spaces, basement area, most buyers move on unconcerned about radon. If the level is over 4, which is 4 picocuries per liter, then most buyers and the EPA agree that it's time to take action and a radon mitigation system should be looked into. Very few buyers, in my experience, have been willing to move into a house with a radon level over 4. How is radon fixed? So this is kind of what a radon system looks like on the left-hand side here. There's a fan system in here, and this pipe goes down under the basement, and the radon is basically piped up above the house out of the living areas. Here's another example of how the basement slab is sealed off. The fan mechanism goes underneath and creates negative pressure, kind of like a vacuum cleaner if you think about that. Here's another type of system where the negative pressure is just taken up through a fan up here. And basically the idea is that the radon never has a chance to get into the house, which is like an upside down cup, which would normally trap radon. The costs are about $800 to $1,200. Some houses are so large that they require 2 radon systems, and of course that would be $1,600 to $2,000 to correct those systems. Every once in a while, if we take a look at this chart right here, you'll find that in some second floor condos, for example, a place where you would never expect radon to be if there was no radon on the lower level, because of the way the heating system works, because a heating system may vent air from the basement up into the second floor, you may actually have radon on the second and third floor, but no radon on the first floor. So generally what they do is they test the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, and they get a sense of how much the radon is dissipating as it's moving through the house. And sometimes you'll see you'll find a level of maybe like 2 in the basement, 1 in the second floor, and 0 on the third floor. It would kind of work. That would be a normal radon test, which most buyers shouldn't be concerned about. When you go and you're showing a house and there's a radon remediation system, most buyers will appreciate the fact that there's a radon remediation system rather than not knowing if there's radon there and this cost is in front of you. If nothing else has happened to the house, which we'll get to in a second, and you look at the radon remediation system over here and you see that the barometer level, basically the pressure level here, is uneven. If one is higher than the other, then that is a proof that there's negative pressure within the system, and the system is probably working as far as the fan. That's how you tell if the fan is working. If you ever go into one of these systems and the blue level is straight across, even on both sides, then the system is not working. So what kind of things should be concerned about? Should you trust the radon test that's described by the sellers, maybe in the seller's disclosure when they bought the property 3 or 4 years ago? They had a radon test, they had a low level, they weren't concerned. But things that could have happened in the interim, for example, you could have basement waterproofing going in. Someone go in and disturbing the natural flow of air within the property. Someone could have gone from a gravity feed heater system with no fans to a central air system and a heating system with fans, and that could pull more air out of the lower part of the property and create a radon problem where it wasn't there before. So you can't always be sure that because there was a prior radon test that was acceptable under 4.0 that it's not going to be that way in the future. If you see any major changes in the structure in relation to the basement or the airflow, a little red flag should pop up, and maybe you'll recommend to the buyer to have a second radon test. You never want to find yourself in this position of recommending against a radon test. You want to stay on that safe side and always let the buyer make their own choice. So how should a buyer feel about a house with radon? Most buyers now, since we've gotten past the kind of the early scare of radon systems and the kind of fear and panic and the understanding, have basically adopted the idea that a radon system in a property is better than a house where you don't know anything about radon. And as long as it's architecturally insignificant, it's not cutting into the basement living areas, things like that, pipes aren't in the wrong place or the fan isn't too noisy, most buyers take a pretty positive view of a house with radon. So you can kind of accept that. If someone is overly concerned, maybe they had an aunt or a cousin who passed away from lung cancer and they didn't have a reason for it, maybe they weren't a smoker, they may be overly sensitive to it, and you have to be aware of that situation. So an agent's responsibilities regarding radon. First, when they're selling a property, they should take a close look at the seller disclosure. The seller disclosure will have the seller's best information about what they know about the radon situation in the house. Second, they should get some advice, actually your advice, when they're selecting the home inspection options that they have. One of the options that buyers have is, do you want to have a radon test or do you want to waive it? I'm a believer that if a buyer doesn't understand radon, doesn't understand how important it is, wants to buy the house, doesn't want to get caught here, just elect that you're going to have a radon test and then give them the EPA information, which we'll talk about, and let them make that decision between the time they purchase the property and the time of the home inspection. They have that little window of opportunity to make their own decision. Follow up. It's commonplace for buyers to maybe if they're accepting a borderline radon test that and they're moving into the property and they intend, for the best of intentions to have a further radon test, that they may or may not do it, a good agent will follow up and remind them to have the radon test. Maybe even send them a free radon test kit from Home Depot. The agent should price out the work. They should get a couple bids on radon remediation systems. Sorry about the spelling there. Make sure the system is tested after it's installed. So if an EPA approved vendor is putting the system in, they know that the rule is you put the system in, then you have a second radon test to prove that the radon system is actually working. That's pretty much it. That's your quick synopsis of what you need to know about radon systems in the Pennsylvania area for Artisan Realty. Thank you.